Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the iHeartRadio network, the #1 network in the United States of America, and also Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America. Thank you for following Big C Sports as well as across the pond in Paris, France, as well as London, England, and of course in Canada. But there's no one I love more than you good old boys down south, Big C, in the land of the free and the home of the brave. You know, today is March 16th, 2017. I'm at the Golden One Center with all the other media trucks down here getting ready to watch a lot of practice games. But how's it going for you good old boys, Big C?
Well, Charlton, we just stuck halfway through the month of March. You know,
yeah.
We didn't realize what was going on. So,
yeah.
You know, we're doing pretty good. The moonshine is flowing and everything.
Yeah.
Everybody being able to be watered down for this March Madness that's going on.
Yeah.
Everything is smooth flowing down here in the south.
Yeah, that's always great. You know, here, I tell you, I want to give a lot of credit to former Mayor Kevin Johnson, because when the Sacramento Kings were playing at the old Arco Arena, this is the third arena they've had in the last 28 years. When they came from Kansas City, Big C, they played in front of 11,000 people. That stadium was constructed in about 10 months. And then they moved to 17,000 seat Arco Arena, and they had the most of their success then. And this new Golden One Center holds about 18,000. It's gorgeous, right in the heart of downtown. It's really changed the landscape of downtown Sacramento. And Big C, the great thing about that is it brings everybody together. But would you believe many of the voters did not want the thing because they did not want traffic issues, Big C? Does that make any sense?
Well, Charlton, you know, people get comfortable when you think about old-time residents and neighborhoods. A lot of people are resistant to change. But change is what occurs. You know, it's like even looking at our American society and economy, and everybody's talking about, you know, we're going to make America back like it was.
Yeah.
You can't affect change, Charlton. Change is going to be around for a long time and keep advancing in America.
Yeah.
And these new arenas that we see going up all the time, all over the United States, Charlton, whether it's basketball, football, baseball, it's about the constant advancement of society and sports.
Yeah. And I tell you, when you think about it, there's so many media downtown, from NBC to CBS to ABC, the local TV stations, and of course they have a lot of radio stations out here as well. But Big C Sports is the #1 sports show of them all, Big C. We're the only ones doing our thing without a teleprompter. But I do want to say this segment is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them that Charlton and Big C sent you. Big C, the one thing about having an Escalade in California is every time I go get some gas, they always ask me, do you want a car wash? And I'm saying, Big C wouldn't have a good time out here. You can hear Harley Davidson's driving by downtown, and so everybody's having a good time. It's like, but do you even get to ask if you want a car wash when you buy gas, Big C? Is that a common question they ask you now, Big C?
Well, Charlton, you know, I don't even want a conversation. You got to be realistic about this.
Yeah.
You know, when we think about the ecological impact, you know, this wasting water to keep a vehicle shining.
Yeah.
Why not let Mother Nature play her part? That's what's so beautiful about the Escalade.
Oh, yeah.
You can see it wrapped with Mother Nature every day.
Yeah, that's very true. And speaking of Mother Nature, before we get into some of the basketball and we're getting ready to watch UCLA do some practice here at the Golden One Center right now, Cincinnati's on the floor and they're running their practices. UCLA comes on in just a few minutes. And so there's a lot of things that are happening in the world of sports and politics, as a lot of us are distracted about the world of sports, Big C. Would you believe that POTUS, for like the third week in a row, I believe, with the wiretapping that he claims to have happened, we've had the Senate Intelligence Committee, the Chairman Richard Burr, Republican of North Carolina, and also the Vice Chairman of Mark Warren, Democrat, Virginia. They came out and said Trump's lying. Your thoughts on that, Big C? They said they can't find any information, which is like the third week in a row they're saying he's lying. Your thoughts, Big C?
Well, Charlton, he was so adamant when he came out, I believe it was on a Saturday morning, said he can't believe that he's been wiretapped by the former president. How low can you go with criminal?
Yeah.
And you know, you listen to his press secretary now, I mean, daily.
Yeah.
He's expanding as far as the excuse without retracting and saying, well, you know, there's all forms of surveillance going on by all different groups.
Yeah.
No, we're not talking about an
Yeah.
And a citizen at the time. You didn't say someone else. You didn't say Britain. You didn't say Germany. You didn't say Japan. You didn't say Russia.
Yeah.
You said the President of the United States did these heinous actions. But that just lets you know. But see, Trump. I mean, I'm saying Trump.
Wait. I never called you a bad word, Big C. Why we got to go that? That's your alternative fact, Big C. Go ahead.
This is his base.
Yeah.
His base says, well, he's just making statements.
Yeah.
These statements, Charlton, affect everybody.
Yeah.
They affect America. It's just like with this new health plan that they're talking about, and 24 million Americans stand to lose their health care in 10 years.
And that's most of the people that voted for him, because they're the ones who can't afford it, Big C. That's funny.
Well, I'm talking, you also look at the funding that he's talking about doing. He's talking about defunding cancer research.
Yeah.
The money that goes to cancer research. Charlton, and when you think about 1 out of 8 women, and this is Women's Month, here in America and around the world, Charlton.
Yeah.
1 out of 8 women in America will be diagnosed with breast cancer.
Wow. Wow.
And so without this research and early detection, think about potentially how many of those may lose their lives, Charlton, because of the defunding and advanced research that has allowed doctors to be able to catch this, Charlton, at the earlier stages. So people need to understand that he's affecting a lot of people in many ways with his agenda. And it's like what we talked about, Charlton. He's been picking off the low-hanging fruit off the tree, the stuff that the kids go out and get.
Yeah.
Because the adults get the good stuff up top, so the kids get the stuff that's half right most of the time.
Yeah.
And so that's what he's been selling to America. Just like this latest travel ban that was squashed yesterday. Even the day before to get kicked off, judges banned it already.
Yeah.
And let me tell you how idiotic he was when he announced it. He said it's basically the same as the last one. There's some changes.
Yeah.
When you go out and tell people you're making the same dumb mistake and you expect it to fly, how idiotic are you?
That is so funny, Big C. And as we talk about this world of sports, because we know everything starts with understanding and funding. And without funding, and you talked about it, he's talking about a $1.5 trillion investment into the economy, Big C. And most of that's going to come from the Department of Defense, the Homeland Security, Veteran Affairs, and Social Security Administration. But look at some of the things that he wants to cut. Environmental Protection Agency, Agriculture, Labor Department, Health and Human Services, the Commerce Department, the Department of Education, the people that learn to read and write, Big C, the HUD. Now, if HUD's going to be defunded, how's Ben Carson going to have a job, Big C? He had a job for like 30 days, Big C. I think maybe Carson should go back to operating on people too. But Transportation Department, Small Business Administration, Department of Justice, all them good old boys looking into his affairs with Russia, Department of Treasury, African Development Foundation, Corporate for Public Broadcasting. Okay, he wants to cut down all the broadcasting companies. Neighborhood reinvestment. I thought he said he's going to rebuild the inner cities, but he just said he wants to defund neighborhood reinvestment, Big C. Okay, Jim Brown, I hope you read this too. And then the National Endowment of the Arts and Humanities doesn't want anyone to know anything about arts and humanities. And of the most egregious, the United States Interagency Council on Homelessness. He wants to cut that out so he can send more people to incarceration camps known as penitentiaries. Big C, your thoughts on that?
Well, Charlton, I sit here and I watch him, and even in that, this is what we talked about, the low-lying fruit.
Yeah.
He's done nothing talking about reducing the deficit. He's talked about increasing the deficit. He was saying that the American deficit was out of control and he was going to reduce the deficit in America. And with this budget proposal that he's put forth, he's talking about increasing the deficit $1.5 trillion the next year, Charles.
Yeah.
And this is not even a war. This is in peacetime.
Yeah.
So the number one thing that Americans need to be savvy about.
Yeah.
When you're talking about increasing the military, Charles.
Yeah.
And the spending in the military, why are you so adamant about increasing the spending in the military? You have to understand, as a public citizen, when you talk about increasing the spending in the military, it's like increasing the spending in incarceration and in prison, Charles.
Yeah.
You have to have people to fund these facilities, to pack them, Charles. So does he talk about implementing the draft again? Because I don't see that many Americans wanting to volunteer for the military. Just to volunteer. So the next thing on this slate, men and women of America who have those teenage sons and those college students,
Yeah.
out there struggling to get to college.
Especially the Caucasian ones.
Be worried about the draft. Okay?
Yeah.
Be worried about the draft implemented, not selective. And we talking selective service where you can go out. This thing that he got 6 deferments from in Vietnam.
Yeah.
This is what's on the horizon for Donald Trump. If he stays president, he's going to be talking about he needs to have the draft enacted to protect America.
Well,
we got to figure out who we're fighting other than him first.
Yeah, that's true. And so in the world of March Madness, there's a lot more going on than basketball, because a lot of that's just free labor again. I just want to close with this. It was Wolf Blitzer, and finally we have some media asking more questions about things that are real as opposed to who wiretapped you or not. But he had on Andre Carson. He's from Indiana, and he's a representative. He's part of the Intelligence Committee, and they found, along with National Intelligence Director Glenn Clapper, they've said there's no evidence whatsoever of wiretapping, and they're even opining that President Trump lacks the mental capacity to be president because he lies so much. It's ruining the reputation around the country, around the world, actually, too, Big C. But it just shows one more thing, that President Obama was a lot more intelligent than Donald Trump, and that's coming from the Intelligence Committee. Big C, your thoughts?
The thing about it is racism had to rear its ugly head so much under President Obama.
Yeah.
Then, this country would have went in a different direction. When you had the Senate right off the bat, saying, hey, we're going to fight this man because he's black, and we don't want him to be the leader of our country.
Yeah, Ms. McConnell. Yeah.
Not about his intelligence, not about his integrity.
Yeah, and that's the same issue that now we have. He's at war with not only the federal judges that turned down his second attempt to discriminate against people, Big C, based on their religion, and he's also attacking the CIA and the FBI, saying they don't really know what they're talking about. But he and Flynn had dinner with Russia on Russia TV, and they paid Flynn $33,000, and Putin was sitting right there with him, Big C. So who are you going to believe? That your lying eyes are what you see on TV? And I just want to say this segment is sponsored by Ben and Mark Insurance. And sports is a $1 billion industry, and boys and girls sports is the foundation of this $1 billion industry. You could get insurance through calling Big C Sports on Twitter, and that's on the iHeartRadio network as well. But call us on Twitter or reach out to us on Twitter at Yes Charlton on Twitter. We cover professional athletes, collegiate athletes, as well as high schools and your mom and pop soccer leagues. So in the sports world, there's all this madness going on, but there's also madness in the world of politics. We tie it all together because Donald Trump is one of the biggest sports guys out there with 7 golf courses. Big C, I want to bring this up to you because only we talked about it over the last year. But guess what I saw in the USA Today? It mentioned that U.S. women take a stand. Okay, we talked about the NFL and the black quarterback and what is analytic people when it comes to getting paid. Well, the hockey boycott puts a spotlight on pay inequality. It happened to be the U.S. women's national ice hockey team that has been one of the country's most reliable winners over the past 2 decades, and they never left the Olympic Games without a medal, usually a silver or a gold, also winning 7 of the last 9 world championships. When it comes to pay equality, we just talked about the NFL black athletes doing that. In fact, we just talked about it last week, Big C. Well, today is March the 16th, 2017, and what do I see on the front page of the USA Today? Taking a stand against pay inequality and boycotting. Could the black athlete take a learning chapter out of I'll just say mostly Caucasian U.S. Olympic team? Big C, your thoughts?
We're talking that's the only thing that's going to bring about pay equality in professional sports is that the black athlete has to take a stand.
Yeah, the women are doing it.
You have to understand when you have all the chips, Charlton. You have the bargaining power.
Yeah.
It's like playing in the World Series of poker that they play on the ESPN every year.
Yeah.
The guy literally with the most chips can buffalo everybody else.
Yeah.
He can, just go all in at any point and challenge you, and even if he loses, he still has money.
Yeah.
And that's what players have, Charlton, that they don't provide. They're supposed to move balance in these leagues than what they think.
Yeah.
All they have to do is just band together one day.
Yeah.
And still we're going to do it. And when you get to the female part, and that's how important it is to do it, Charlton, in women's life.
Yeah.
Okay? To go out and make this total stance for women and equality, saying, we're no longer going to afford to have you guys make millions of dollars and get in the scratch that you normally leave for.
And then
what? Take the stance that I admire.
Yeah.
If we don't things, we're not going to compete in the Olympics.
Big C, we're having a slight trouble with the microphone. I know there's a lot of networks down here, but I just want to reiterate the fact that Big C Sports, we spoke about this over the past year and really the last week, and now I'm seeing the same story. It's just in a different sport. Okay, it's about getting the same kind of money for winning, equal pay for equal work. The same conversation we had. I want to commend Christine Brennan. She's an excellent writer for USA Today, and she wrote the article. And I think it's something that we've been talking about. Maybe Lamar Smith from the NFL, the Players Association, maybe he'll learn the same thing. There's no need to play for someone if they're not going to pay you. And if you walk out of the NFL, you're guaranteed to change things in a big way. But if you're just a sycophant person, you're going to get treated the same, Big C. That's always the case. And as we come to the end of our program, I want to just touch a little bit on the college match, March Madness basketball. And you know there's a lot of games going on, Big C. We're out here on the West Coast. But what's going on in the world of college basketball from your end of the world, Big C?
Well, Charles, there's been some exciting games that they already talked about. This kicks off so early, and there's so many games. You know, you got a number one seed in Gonzaga, Charlton, that was able to handle their opponents very easily, very advanced. And they're going to play a team, you know, that's really exciting and a dangerous team, Charlton. Northwestern made the first round of the playoffs for the first time in school history.
That's big.
And they also won their game, Charlton. So they're going to be facing Gonzaga next week, which is going to, you know, this weekend is going to be a very interesting story.
Yes.
But, you know, there were some close games. Notre Dame got by Princeton by 2. They had a chance to lose that game. Princeton had the ball, you know, in the last seconds of that game. So, you know, when you think about what March Madness does for so many people, Butler, you got to look at Butler. Butler's been a two-time competitor in the Final Four.
Yeah, Final Four, yeah.
You know, just in the last 5 years, and they won their opening round game that they talked about. Virginia went out and got theirs. You know, they got it done. So when you think about March Madness, you know, we always think about the favorites.
Yeah.
But you and I had that conversation a couple of days ago. That there was going to be some teams that shocked some teams. You know, Florida's a dominant program.
Yeah.
They won. Middle Tennessee State knocked off Minnesota, a Big Ten.
Oh, really?
That people thought would get somewhere in the tournament.
Yeah.
You know, you look at West Virginia, who had a great run in that tournament, their postseason tournament. They went out and won today. Bob Huggins has done a wonderful job with that program since coming back to his alma mater there in West Virginia. I know we got a lot of games that you're looking at there on the West Coast tonight.
Yeah.
It should be very exciting. You know, you're talking about UCLA getting into the action. Arizona's going to be in action soon. We got some teams that have traveled out west, Charlton.
Yeah.
You know, that are going to be playing. You know, and so it's very interesting this time. I mean, because these arenas, these first couple of games, there's a lot of fan hype and excitement going on, and this is what we live for.
Yeah.
When we look at college sports, it is purity, it is excitement. You know, fans love it. You know, you think about going back to your alma maters, cheering for them.
Yeah.
I mean, you're gray-haired and everything else.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's still like being a student when you sit in the student section when it comes to March Madness. And I think anybody who's been to college has been able to enjoy that wonderful experience of sitting in the student section in the arena when we were in college.
Yeah.
You know, it's being crazy. You can go there and be a kid, and nobody cares because everybody's acting the same way, dressed up, and dressed down, and you know, even though we couldn't get any beer legally at that time.
No, can't do that, Big Z. No moonshine either. No moonshine. Yeah.
So I'm all excited about, you know, the unfortunate part, Justin. You know, we start off with 68 teams.
Yeah.
You know, come Monday we'll only have 34.
Yeah.
You know, that's the tough part of this. Come Monday we'll only have 34. But, you know, in that 34, Jonathan, it'll be a deserving 34 teams that are left.
Yeah.
When we turn around and look at it, you know, there's going to be some teams that went home sad. Everybody's sad when they lose. You know, I remember Guy Lewis, who coached at the University of Houston, coached under Five Slammer Jam.
Yeah.
And, you know, they made 3 deep runs into the NCAA tournament. And I think the most disheartening one, everyone remembers the loss that they had to North Carolina State when Lorenzo Charles caught the short ball and dunked it.
Oh, I remember that.
But the most disheartening one to me, I think, was the one that they lost to Georgetown.
Yeah.
And you know, Georgetown at that time, under John Thompson, had Patrick Ewing, and had just a great athletic team. But Georgetown, if you remember, were victims to North Carolina when Freddie Brown threw the ball away when they were playing North Carolina when, you know, Michael Jordan hit that shot that made him famous.
Yeah.
Down at
Yeah.
Georgetown could not miss. And, 4 of those starters on that Georgetown team ended up in the NBA, as well as with Houston. But a team Elijah Wan got into foul trouble. I think they might have been 2-3 minutes into the second half.
Yeah.
When he picked up his 4th foul. And at that point, Houston had no answer for that huge front line of Georgetown, where they went athletic on them.
Yeah.
And just touched the ball and punished them inside. And this is what you get in March Madness. We talked about coaches being able to make adjustments.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
We know that players can play, but these are teaching moments in the tournament where coach, this is what he's really paid to do. Find out whether adjustments need to be made against your opponent.
Yeah.
Put your team in the best position that you can to have a chance to win. And we saw that years ago with John Thompson when they put the pressure on Hakeem Olajuwon. He was in foul trouble, and the Houston had no answer. And that's what you're going to see, Charles, over this weekend.
Well, Big C, making those adjustments. And you bring back some memories. I'm just going back in the past when you talked about some of these great games that happen in NCAA tournaments. I remember the one with Chris Webber. I think he called a timeout against North Carolina in that game. You talked about what happened with the Georgetown situation. And out here, UCLA, because this is kind of like the hometown for UCLA, even though they're Northern California versus SoCal, but there's so much brewing blue that you see running around here. And of course, they have the game coming up against Kansas State. The Bruins went 29-4, 15-3 in the Pac-12 conference. And the last appearance was 2015. They lost to Gonzaga that you talked about earlier. Lonzo Ball and his dad making a lot of headlines. I think Charles Barkley is one of the biggest, comedians out there. Big C talking about wanting to play a game against Lonzo Ball's dad. He might eat more food at a smorgasbord, but I don't think he can score more points when you look at the shape of Ball's father. Big C, your thoughts?
Charles likes to talk. Okay?
Yeah.
Charles goes out there trying to dribble basketball, he's going to pull a whole lot of things. And none of them going to be above him.
You know how Patrick Ewing used to sweat, Big C, even when the game started? Patrick Ewing, they always had to have a towel behind Patrick Ewing because he was always sweating. I think Charles Barkley sweats like Rush Limbaugh. They have to stop the game every 30 seconds if he came out and played a game. Your thoughts, Big C?
Charles, if he walks out on the court, he's looking for the appetizer tray. He's not looking for the tray of basketball. He's looking for the appetizer. The only thing he's going to be dribbling is off his chin. Okay?
That is funny. You got to admit, though, he had some great commercials with Sam Jackson and Spike Lee. And there's one when they're on the airplane and the phone went off and there was some musician, some singer that started. She was a stewardess on the plane, and they started singing this song, and they had a good time with that. But Charles has been a very good comedian over the years, but I hope he really doesn't consider lacing it up again. Just do a good job sitting down and sweating. If you sit down and sweat, you're going to have a hard time playing a couple of basketball games too, Big C. And then one more game I wanted to talk about is, Winthrop, they're playing Cincinnati, and Cincinnati, they're wrapping up their practice in just a few minutes. Winthrop, they're a smaller team at 13 seed. We saw what just happened with, Northwestern getting their game done and Minnesota losing. But you have Winthrop, they're the Eagles, they're of Rock Hill, South Carolina. They're 26-6, Big C, and they're 15-3 in the Big South Conference champion. Last appearance, they were in 2010. They lost to Arkansas Pine Bluff. Pat Kelsey's their coach. But a team that's 26-6, and they're playing a Cincinnati team that has been consistently in March Madness, 29-5. That's a game at 13 versus 6. That could be a potential upset too. Your thoughts, Big C?
Well, everyone underrates the smaller schools, Charles, going in because we've seen the big schools so frequently on television.
Yeah.
But the athleticism that's abound nowadays, Charles, with the athletes out there in these small universities,
yeah,
that are getting a chance to show exposure. When you look around the NBA, Charles, and you think about many of the stars in the NBA, how many of them do you recognize from college?
Yeah.
You really don't.
Yeah.
Because the talent comes abound when you look at the NBA All-Star game, Jonathan. How many of those guys came from the major universities around the country that now fuel the NBA?
Yeah, that's true. That's true, Big C. A lot of them do. And then you have another thing that's out here on the West Coast. If you have the the Cincinnati program, of course, coming out here, and they're playing Winthrop. UCLA is playing Kansas State. I just want to touch on one more thing before we close out and get a little bit of your thoughts on NFL. Lonzo Ball, again, a lot of pressure is being put on this kid by his father. I know he's a great basketball player, averages 15 points a game for the great UCLA Bruins. He's not Lou Alcindor, he's not Reggie Miller, and he's not Russell Westbrook, but he is building something more of a success on the court and off the court. How does he stay focused as a young man when his father's hyping him and the media is falling for the bait? I think his father's brilliant, Big C, but how do you tell a young man like that to focus on the game and don't worry about the distractions, Big C? Your thoughts? Yeah.
And there's been plenty of fathers involved in basketball players over the years. None better than the late, great Pete Maravich, okay?
Yeah.
His dad was the coach at LSU when he played.
Yeah.
Pete Maravich still holds the NCAA scoring record at 44 points a game.
Wow.
And he only had a 2-point shot, Charles.
Yeah.
Ball is not even in that neighborhood, okay?
Yeah.
He might be a good college player, but he will not be a dominant NBA player, but he doesn't have the size.
Yeah.
He was not even Reggie Miller, and we know how good Reggie Miller was as a pro out of UCLA.
Yeah.
So a lot of this stuff comes with height.
Yeah.
You look at all the players that the Lakers have drafted in the past couple of years, none of them have come to fruition.
Yeah.
I see that with Ball. This is a kid that has his dad that's a great marketer.
Yeah.
But his talent on the court has not resonated to make him even the most dominant player in the NBA. That's wrong as conference, Charles.
Yeah, well, let me ask you this question. There's a lot of teenagers that love Lonzo Ball. My son is one of them. I meet a lot of kids when I do events at high schools, and they love this kid. You know what, Big C? It shows that marketing works, but he doesn't have the frame to go up against guys like, LeBron James, or if he's going up against someone like Andre Iguodala, or what about when Draymond Green gets into him? You think that would be a difference, Big C?
Well, Charles, we've seen the wearing down of Steph Curry, have we not?
Yeah.
In just his short NBA career.
Yeah.
Steph Curry has had 3 major surgeries in the past.
Yeah, in the past couple of years. Well, yeah. Yeah.
So when you look at the big guys, think about it here that began to play against the Nash brothers in Detroit.
Yeah.
Back in the 80s and 90s. How physical that team was. They
Yeah.
took it pretty Charles.
Yeah.
Even the New York Knicks when they had Oakley and Ewing
Yeah.
and Mason on the front.
Oh, Anthony Mason was a beast.
It's physical of a team that you play. And even the Boston Celtics was the chief. Larry Bird and McHale, they were very physical teams, Johnson. So when I look at Ball, and I think about some of the great shooters that have been in the NBA, think about Penny Hardaway. When he came up in the NBA out of the University of Cincinnati.
Yeah. Yeah.
But he just caught up with Penny. And Ball is not the player that these players were. Ball is a victim of ESPN.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's not Michael Westbrook either.
Yeah.
So, he's not frozen. He's horrible.
Yeah.
There is a level in these temperatures that he's not even close. He's not even, think about the Greek freak in Milwaukee.
Yeah. Well, Big C, I would like to see the kid, put on some more muscle, stay another year. Don't do what Calipari does with the kids at Kentucky. But when someone's going to throw a few $1 million at you, no one looks at the kids that don't make it. They just say, hey, what happened to this guy that was drafted first round, 2 years ago out of whatever school? And sometimes they just pushed into the league too soon. Yeah.
Okay, kid named Brown.
Yeah.
Out of high school. This kid spent a decade in the NBA and no one knew he was there.
Yeah.
Okay? They were there.
Yeah, I understand. We're having a little bit of trouble with your microphone, Big C. I just want to close out the show by asking you one more thought. My thought is that UCLA is going to at least get to the Final Four because they score so much and they can get up and down the court. They have a coach that knows how to get there. He's done his time. He won a championship when he was under the great Bobby Knight at Indiana. And I think that UCLA is due since they had their last run. Also started out here on the West Coast. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, they have the bracketology to make a run.
Yeah.
And Steve Alford really understands the game. He's finally got a solid team at UCLA, but like I said before, I think their Achilles heel is going to be Ball and his dad.
Yeah.
Is that his dad is going to talk to him about taking over. This is his time to shine on the national showcase.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so when you have those egos get in the way, Charlton, of this team sport, the ultimate team sport, basketball, where you need all five playing cohesively, because when you don't, you collapse in a hurry.
Yeah.
So we talked earlier about Elijah Wan when he got his fourth foul against Georgetown, and all of a sudden they were without their key guy of the five.
Yeah.
And that's what I see Ball doing, because his dad has spent so much time on television this past week about his son, that his son is going to feel that he has to fulfill his father's dreams and height. Is that he's going to go out there and take unnecessitated shots and put UCLA in some bad positions. They may win this first round.
Oh, yeah, they'll get out of there.
But I don't see them getting past that with his dad being involved.
Well, they have North Carolina and Kentucky in their bracket. They also beat Kentucky earlier in the year. It'd be great to see a West Coast team get back to the national championship game. I know there's teams all over the country hoping that this school can get in. But I just want to say I appreciate you all the time, Big C. And as we always take it every Monday through Friday at 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time worldwide, follow Big C Sports on the iHeartRadio network, the #1 network in the United States. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. We always tell you there's never any excuse for domestic violence. If you see any woman in trouble or someone grabbing her by the crotch, just call 911, because no woman should have to go through that garbage all on her own. And as we always tell you on every program, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.